Oh hey, what's up guys? I'm getting ready to do a leaf spring twisted Damascus San Mai, looking to make a hunting knife for me. Join me.
All my life I've been searching down every dead end road. The only treasure it's brought me ain't nothing but
Okay, so I'm done with the cleanup. Obviously my Damascus piece has got a couple of small flaws. Since this is a knife for me, I'm not going to sweat it. I'm going to use it anyway. I got these leaf spring pieces cleaned up on the one side to join with that. And just for full disclosure, I spent a little time up in McDonough, New York at Loon Knife Works. He has a forge press, and I got a head start in squishing that leaf spring down, which is why it's only about a quarter of an inch versus the half inch that I oftentimes start out working with. So here's a little bit of that footage. Okay, so I'm gonna try something I would not recommend to any of you. There's a raw piece of leaf spring. This one is less than half of an inch. It's probably, I don't know, 3/16 or something. Not really sure. But I kind of think if I make these outer pieces thinner, I'll expose more of the Damascus that I made in the sides when I do the grind. So I'm gonna try something silly. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. I'm not going to show you because you probably shouldn't do it. I'm going to try cutting this piece here in half, long ways, rather on edge with my bandsaw. So I'm not sure how many of you may or may not have done a San Mai before by hand, but in my observation, the outer plates tend to squish more than the inner plates, and I believe that's a result of all the smaller forced strikes of the hammer on the outside edges. I think the outside steel just moves more than the inside steel. With that said, I'm trying to get a final product that really showcases, hopefully, that twisted Damascus in the bevel. And I don't know, man. I just don't know. I want an outer cladding of the old pitted leaf spring texture, though. I honestly don't know. I'm really not sure which plates I should go with. I'll have more steel if I go with these thicker plates, but I might end up revealing less of the central core. I really don't know what to do. Okay, so here's the final San Mai and hopefully the final forge welding on this. So the whole point of this is to try to leave the forged texture of that leaf spring on the outside. I didn't really calculate how difficult it's going to be to get that to its final width of the knife. When something's so small and so thin like this, not like that, but I'm not even sure the San Mai core is really staying in the center. I've never done this before. This is pretty challenging. I don't know what this is going to look like when I'm done. I don't even know how much forging the actual profile of the blade I'm going to be able to do. I'm kind of scared, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. What I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to come back and then forge in the tang after I get a look at that billet. I'm not going to try to do any forging in the tip because I have to clean off where the welds were anyway. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Okay guys, this is definitely by far the most interesting billet I've ever made. You'd have to see, but it looks like the Sanmai is working out pretty good. I'm really curious in this billet if these little dimples that are in here and there, are places where the leaf spring filled in a void due to a flaw in the twisted Damascus billet. I mean, I ground these corners to try to find the flaws that I saw in this billet that I know were under there at that end, under the welds, and I could not find them. So I don't know if all of those areas did close up and weld good, and when I grind into this, it's going to be the nicest billet I've ever made, or if I'm going to grind into this and find mistakes that I can't fix. No surprise, little D-lam at that end, that's going to happen. The problem here is, even with a slight preheat, it's a cold day, there's no sun shining in here, this anvil is really cold, and man, I'd hate to use all that fuel just to heat up this anvil. It'll take more fuel than it is to forge it. Based on how much D-lam I just got on the tang end, I definitely won't be doing a whole bunch of forging on the tip end. I'm just simply going to try to get a little bit of distal taper on it and stop. I think a big problem today is this anvil's just too cold, and I just haven't got enough heat into it. And that thing is so thin, it robs the heat so fast. That's really bad for those layers. Well, I gotta tell you, a lot of crazy stuff happened in the last couple of days while my camera was out of juice. But anyway, let's continue on with this project. Always look before dunking your knife from grinding into your coolant water. Ugh. Have the preliminary bevel done. I've got more than a dime's width, I would say dang near a quarter's width of edge there, so I shouldn't warp too much. It's a pretty short blade. I'm going to go ahead and do the heat treat and then temper it back, and we'll see how this ends up. Ooh, yeah. Oh yeah, that hardened up. Okay, so here's where the knife sat now after heat treat. Some very serious delaminations opened up from the Sanmai. Clearly I must have worked it on a very cold anvil after the day after the Sanmai to get to the shape I've got now. Big mistake, but I'm gonna grind it anyway. I'm gonna make some adjustments to this profile. This guy's gonna be a clip point here in just a few minutes, and then I'm gonna try to grind through some of those D-lambs. I know this isn't gonna be a perfect knife when I'm done, but I've gone this far. There's no reason to stop now. Okay everyone, here's the skinny. I've taken this bevel up pretty far. I don't mind going a little further, but I don't think it's going to be enough to take out the damage done from that delamination. Sad thing is that's from the sand mine. That's not even the twisted Damascus. This was the flat platen that was being used on this grinder. Since I don't have a contact wheel, my last hope is this curved platen I just made to put a bit of a hollow grind in that to see if I can get that out and still have a decent looking knife. It'd be nice to have a nice contact wheel and a nice 2x72, but I don't. So I'm going to work with what I have, see if I can make lemonade out of lemons. Not the lemons I thought I had, but new lemons, and get this to be a desirable enough blade that I'm going to feel good about having it to show people what I've done. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so done with my first hollow grind, and it's about as far as I'm going to take it. Definitely still see the flaws. I'm going to etch it and then start thinking about what I want to do for a handle. Probably won't go too ornate, as this is a flawed blade. Okay, so as you saw, those delaminations did not grind out. With that said, after I etched it and then even electro etched my logo in, I had a bit of a eureka moment in a way that I could minimize those flaws so they don't jump out and slap you in the face. And what I did was I electro etched the entire border where the Damascus meets the leaf spring, so that there's a groove along the entire border, kind of hiding where those D-lambs are. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing this on any sort of knife that anyone would sell, especially without a disclaimer that that's what's been done to cover up some slight D-lambs. But I haven't sold a knife yet. All I've done is I've traded 2 knives for materials. I would never let a knife like this go without an understanding of the condition of the blade. It's not a structural issue, it's a cosmetic issue, but it's still something people have a right to know. But since this knife is for me, I now have it so those D-lambs aren't slapping me in the face, and I'm going to treasure this knife and the story that goes along with how it was made, and I'm going to pass this along most likely to my son when he gets of age for his first hunting knife. So I think it's safe to say that with perseverance and some creativity, I now have lemonade instead of just lemons. Well, this project has been more about what lessons have been reinforced rather than new things I've learned. The lessons that have been reinforced is forging Damascus by hand has a lot of steps in the process, and it can be easily messed up at any one of those steps. I am 100% convinced that that anvil not being warm enough was where those D-lambs came from on that sand mine. 100% convinced. So that's kind of lesson 1, rather re-lesson 1. Lesson number 2, I didn't know that you could easily just modify a platen on a grinder and still end up with a pretty decent hollow grind. I don't have any contact wheels, but that slight modification on that grinder is kind of cool, and I've never done that before, so that's something I'll take away from this project. And finally, I learned that if you make cosmetic mistakes, there are creative ways to try to minimize those mistakes so that they don't jump out at you so much. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the little bell so you'll see the notifications of when I do the video of me finishing this handle.
Cried out to Jesus, I say, forgive my soul.